On this edition of Tomorrow's World, the new artificial heart that saved the life of a British student, the biggest space construction project yet, and the new invention that could get rid of blood-sucking insects. But first, we meet an amazing new Japanese robot. Japanese children grow up with this cartoon figure, Atom Boy, a superhero who helps mankind. Many technologists dream of building a robot that could almost be human, and now that dream is becoming a reality. It's an amazing feat of mechanics and robotics, and incredibly compact, standing just a little over 5 feet tall but weighing a hefty 287 pounds. It's able to make simple decisions using an onboard computer hidden in its backpack. Kazuo Harate is leading the team of Japanese scientists who developed the robot.
There are a few robots in the world which can walk, but this is the only one which can walk with stability and balance. And that was the most difficult thing to overcome, to walk with balance.
How a Japanese scientist got a robot to walk is extraordinary. The first attempt staggered backwards and forwards. The next one was faster, but had to gyrate its hips just to stay up. Once the team cracked the problem of balance, they tried putting obstacles in its way. But steps proved tough. Finally, the robotic legs did walk convincingly. But the scientists also wanted it to look as human as possible, so they made 2 more versions with an upper body that they called P1 and P2. And now, after more than a decade and several prototypes later, the Japanese scientists have come up with P3. It has 6 sensors in its feet to send back messages about its movement to its brain. So, for example, if it's pushed gently backwards, it'll lean forward to counterbalance itself. And it has another set of sensors in its tummy to tell it what angle it's at, so that if pressed slightly one way, it'll move gently from side to side to counterbalance the pressure. It's always determined to stand upright. But now it's time to see what P3 can do. It can walk autonomously at 1 mile an hour on a battery which lasts 25 minutes. All P3 needs is an engineer to program it when to start and when to stop. And this robot can make its own decisions about what to do about a difficult bit of terrain ahead. So if the controller tells it there are some steps ahead, then it can work out for itself how to lift its feet and how high each of those steps is. P3 can decide for itself when to try to step over an obstacle and when to find an alternative route. When it goes upstairs, it works out the exact depth and height of each step and can readjust its stride if it finds the size of the step varies. So, what could this robot be used for? Because of its size, it could be for home use, or perhaps by remote control it could be sent into dangerous environments like a nuclear reactor and asked to go and fetch something like this flashlight. At the moment, P3 needs an engineer to help direct it, but the Japanese team have great plans for its future.
First of all, the robot is still too heavy, so I'd like to make it lighter. Secondly, I'd like to add more functions to it, to make it be able to do as many human-like tasks as possible. And thirdly, I'd like to give it artificial intelligence, so it can make more decisions.
If Kazuo's team keep making great strides in robotics like this, who knows how far P3 could go. Up next, the artificial heart that has saved the life of a British student.
You thinking what I'm thinking?
I don't know. What are you thinking?
I'm thinking the same guy that designed this designed our network.
Can't be.
Why?
Because that hasn't crashed for like 700 years.
You can't log on either?
Infrastructure. It's what e-business is built on. Make sure yours has a solid foundation. Click IBM for your free guide, because sooner or later, it matters.
How to cut your current monthly bills by as much as 50% or more. Hi, I'm Bob Vila. Sometimes, no matter how hard you work at it, you just can't seem to make ends meet. You're writing those checks every month, and you just barely have enough money to pay your bills, much less save anything. Want to change all that? Here's how. Call Home 123. They can help you cut your monthly bills by as much as 50%. Let's say these are some of your monthly payments. Home 123 can show you how to turn all those payments into one low monthly payment that could be as little as half of what you're paying now. In this example, that would be almost $500 extra in your pocket. Just think what you could do with money like that. You could make it happen right now with one call. If you own your home, call Home 123. Even if your credit isn't exactly perfect, they'll come up with a loan that's right for you. Call now and see how easy it can be to make ends meet. Call 1-800-HOME-123 or visit us on the web at home123.com. It's how to get the money you need.
Hey! It's time you expected more from an insurance company. So call Progressive Auto Insurance, and we can give you our low price, plus the rates for up to 3 leading competitors. And that could save you hundreds.
We want you to save money, even if it's not with us.
It's time you expected an easier way to buy car insurance. Because at Progressive.com, you can get a quote and buy a policy instantly. In fact, our website is so fast and easy to use, it's been rated #1 4 times in a row. It's time you expected faster claim service. At Progressive, our immediate response vehicles can come right to you. They're like a claims office on wheels.
We make getting back on the road fast and easy.
Visit Progressive.com or call 1-800-PROGRESSIVE today for fast, friendly service 24 hours a day. We want you to save money, even if it's not with us.
Okay, maybe we're not changing the world, but we are changing the way people buy car insurance.
You could start saving now. Call 1-800-PROGRESSIVE or visit Progressive.com. Progressive, not what you'd expect from an insurance company.
Information hijacking, identity fraud, internet overload. The world of technology is spawning a new type of crime. Your best protection? Information. With breaking news, in-depth reports and analysis, Alex Wellen and Jennifer London guide you through the digital dark side. A new type of criminal, a new type of crime. Know the risks with cybercrime. Cybercrime. Tonight at 8:30, 7:30 Central, only on TechTV's Tech Prime.
Julie Mills is undergoing a routine heart scan. Today, her heart is healthy, but 12 weeks before this hospital visit, she almost died. She was at work when she started to get chest pains.
But then I started feeling sort of headaches and very tired. So went to the doctors next day. He said, yep, you've got the flu, you know, showing all the symptoms. I'll give you some antibiotics. Take the whole course, you'll be fine.
But Julie wasn't fine. She'd caught a virus that was attacking her heart. 2 days later, she was in intensive care in the hospital, but the doctors were losing the battle to save her. The one remaining hope was to rush her to the John Radcliffe Hospital in Oxford, England. Doctors there realized that she had only a few minutes to live. For world-renowned heart surgeon Steve Westerby, there was no time to lose.
We took her straight to the operating room, and it was quite clear that if we couldn't support her circulation within the next few minutes, then her heart was going to stop altogether and she would have died.
Julie's heartbeat was fading fast. Her parents were left with a stark decision. Could they allow the surgeons to use an artificial heart that hadn't been tested yet?
I knew that Julie was dying and she was going to die very quickly. And when this was presented to me, this was the lifeline, if you like.
Because there was no decision to be made, really, because it was a situation of they use this or she'd be dead.
The artificial heart is a revolutionary design that took 7 years to complete. The first mechanical heart pump was tried in the 60s when surgeons attempted to copy nature by replicating all 4 chambers of the human heart. By the 1980s, they realized it would be simpler to copy just one chamber. A range of pumps was tried, but they sometimes caused clots and damaged blood cells. So, instead of copying the rhythmic pumping of a real heart, this model, called the ABI-80, uses a much more efficient system. It continually pumps blood out so that the person it's keeping alive doesn't have a pulse. We're about to show the operation in some detail. Steve Westerby's plan was to use the pump to rest Julie's heart and give it a chance to recover. He began the intricate task of attaching the artificial heart. Steve implanted the pump so that it bypassed Julie's heart. He attached the inlet of the pump to the left-hand side of the heart, and then attached the outlet tube to the aorta, the main artery leaving the heart. The pump itself was then placed in the left-hand side of Julie's chest, supplying blood to all the organs in her body. So Julie's heart was kept alive, but didn't have to do any work.
On the first day and the second day, her own heart wasn't moving, literally. The left side of the heart was sucked down by the blood pump. The right side was dilated, and all the valves on the right side of the heart just remained open, and there was no movement from the right side of the heart. With time, as the ECG improved and the heart was rested, the activity began to return, and we saw Julie's heart began to eject blood, and sort of, it was resurrected, really.
The experimental operation had worked beyond even Steve Westerby's expectation. A week later, Julie's heart had recovered so well that the decision was made to take her back to the operating room to remove the heart pump. 7 days after almost failing, Julie's heart was once again strong enough to work on its own. 12 weeks after the artificial heart was removed, Julie and her family went back at the John Radcliffe Hospital for a final checkup, and Julie checked out fine.
I'm absolutely fine, don't have to do any more to it. I'll never get the virus again, so I'll be going back to college and just leading a normal life.
In Julie's case, we discovered something else that was far more important than a pump in itself, and that was that if you rest a heart that is very sick, sometimes those hearts can improve and get better. The analogy is that if you break a bone or sprain a tendon or tear a muscle, it's rest that makes the various parts better.
Julie was the first person to have this type of heart pump successfully implanted. Another pump that Steve Westerby has been using is called the Jarvik 2000. It works in a similar principle to the AB 180, but it's so small it can even be implanted into one of the chambers of the heart.
We'll have pumps that we can use on the short term for people that we know will recover, like Julie. And I think this is very good for that type of treatment. But for those patients with very chronic heart disease and heart failure who cannot get a transplant, then we have different types of pump. And this one in particular is going to be a realistic artificial heart for the future.
After the break, an update on the progress of the International Space Station.
With so many computer choices out there, how do you know which is best for you? A proven winner is Compact's Presario 8000Z, recipient of PC Magazine's December 2001 Editor's Choice Award for Top Performing PC, and the topic of today's Digital Avenue.
We've created a system that provides the best of everything: performance, graphics, multimedia, and networking. PC Magazine even calls it the best of the whiz-bang boxes, and we're very proud of that.
With features like an AMD Athlon XP 1800 Plus processor, 6 USB ports, NVIDIA GeForce video controller, DVD-R, CD-ROM, and an 80 gig hard drive, it's no wonder this computer outperforms the competition.
Our AMD Athlon XP processor has proven that performance is much more than megahertz. With our QuantaSpeed architecture, we have boosted overall productivity. That means your PC will operate at peak performance even when running multiple applications.
AMD Athlon processors were used in the design, development, and testing of Microsoft Windows XP. Since Windows XP comes standard with the Presario 8000Z, you can count on top software performance. And when you purchase your 8000Z, you can opt for the Athlon XP 2000 Plus for even more power.
With the 8000Z, you can burn CDs, create your own movies, and do incredible 3D gaming. And since Compaq can custom configure a system to meet your needs, the possibilities are endless. With prices starting at $949, this is the computer for you.
To buy your Presario 8000Z direct from Compaq, or to learn more about this award-winning computer, go to compaq.com/8000Z or call 888-593-7194. For Digital Avenue, I'm Teresa Richardson.
You try anything to get some relief from your nasal allergy symptoms. But before you change your life, make an easier change. Ask your doctor about Flonase. Multi-symptom Flonase relieves all these nasal allergy symptoms. Sneezing, itchy, runny nose, and congestion. Multi-symptom Flonase once a day relieves them all day and night. And to help make the change even easier, call now to receive a $5 rebate coupon for Flonase, plus valuable allergy information and the latest Allergy Talk newsletter. For best results, use daily. Side effects are generally mild and may include headache, nosebleed, or sore throat. Call to learn more or ask your doctor. And don't forget to take advantage of the $5 rebate offer. So before you change your life, make an easier change. Ask your doctor about multi-symptom Flonase. When you get it all it takes is Flonase.
The plan to build a permanently occupied space laboratory is a daring feat of engineering technology. It'll take more than 40 separate missions to send each element 250 miles above the Earth, where astronauts will bolt the station together piece by piece, taking more than 1,500 hours. Once completed, the station will house 6 separate laboratories and cover the area of 2 football fields. The space station began as an exclusively American enterprise back in 1984, but then the Cold War ended, and with it went the space race. So now nations from across the world are working together. In 1998, the project took a huge leap forward with the launch of the first stage, Zarya. And in 2000, a new landmark was set when the station was occupied for the first time. Commanding the mission is Bill Shepard.
Seeing the first launch of Zarya from Russia was a very exciting step. It's been a vision of people almost around the world for 50 years to have such a thing in space, and we're starting building it now.
It's not a vision shared by all. At an estimated cost of $60 billion, many are concerned that it's a waste of money, but for scientists around the world, it will offer unique opportunities.
It's got that potential that's undefinable, and I think it's very important that we go to some of these dark corners of science and go look for those answers. If we don't, things of huge benefit may never be known.
The low gravity of the space station may allow for advances in many fields of science, from medicine to meteorology. It can also be the beginning of an even greater adventure. The long-term aim of the International Space Station is to provide vital information on how to survive for prolonged periods of time in space, in preparation for the first occupied flights deep inside the solar system. A Mars mission is already scheduled for the year 2020, and that will be a round trip of 100 million miles and will take at least 3 years. So there's a lot still to be learned, like how to grow food to sustain the astronauts over the long voyage, and how to combat the effects of weightlessness on the human body for the duration of the journey. To celebrate the launch of the International Space Station, the European Space Agency came up with a competition to design an experiment to take on board. The winning experiment could be conducted on the Columbus module when it's completed in 2003. It will be a laboratory equipped for experiments across the range of scientists. The students whose ideas are accepted will win a trip to space camp at the Eurospace Center in Belgium. At the camp, students can simulate all the roles of a space mission, from walking on the moon to flying the shuttle and even launching space rockets. And some of them could even become the space travelers of the future. And next, on Tomorrow's World, why astronauts may be better off not being super fit when they travel in space. This is the European Space Agency's Space Simulator. It's a specially adapted Airbus that allows scientists to recreate an experience that is literally out of this world. More affectionately known as the Vomit Comet, it creates weightlessness without leaving the planet. Heading the research is Simon Evans. He wants to find out whether it's possible for astronauts to be so fit that they're at a disadvantage in space. He's embarked on a series of experiments to test out the idea. The conditions of space are simulated in the plane by taking it up to a high altitude and then pointing the nose back at the ground and letting it free fall. The experience for passengers is about 20 seconds of free floating before the pilot has to scoop the plane back out of the dive. Simon and his team have been preparing experiments to conduct on board. For example, finding out if being less fit would make an astronaut less likely to faint. So he's assembled a group of subjects of varying fitness.
Well, I suppose the main thing we want to do is we want to measure blood pressure control in our subjects, and that's their ability to keep their blood pumping around the body and going to the main organs that need the oxygen, such as the brain. One of the problems when you come back from space is, in fact, you have poorer blood pressure control. It's more difficult for the astronauts to keep their blood up where it needs to be, and they can feel a little bit faint, a little bit dizzy, and in fact may even faint.
For any astronaut returning from space, the sudden effects of gravity are very disorienting for the body. The part of the body this affects is the blood supply, and this can often lead to an astronaut fainting. Simon thinks that being a super fit astronaut might actually make this problem worse. On Earth, gravity pulls the blood to our feet, but in space, the blood floats around, increasing the amount in the upper body. So, as astronauts re-enter Earth's gravity, all the blood is pushed back into their feet. A normal fit person's body will respond to get blood back up to the brain, but a super fit person's body doesn't respond as well, so blood doesn't get to the brain and they faint. Simon thinks that a super fit body has adapted so much to extreme exercise it no longer controls the blood pressure closely enough for the punishing effects of space travel. It's 6:30 in the morning at the Bordeaux-Mérignac airport in France, and the mission will soon begin. This is the world's biggest free-falling laboratory, and there'll be 40 scientists on board. Once the plane takes off, the team's set to work. Then the subjects are strapped in, and it's just a nervous wait for the pilot to point the nose of the plane down. Suddenly, everyone is floating. The first test involves the subject blowing out as hard as they can for 10 seconds. As Simon counts, it becomes harder for the subject to blow out. Every time the plane goes into freefall, Simon is testing how the subject's bodies react to the weightlessness. He wants to know how well the heart controls the circulation when subjects are floating. First, he sees how this happens in a person of average fitness. Then he swaps the subject for one of the super fit volunteers. If Simon's theory is right, then a super fit person's heart will not respond to the conditions of weightlessness as rapidly as the subject who had a normal fitness level. Nobody knows quite why this is, but it's thought that a super fit person's body, which experiences regularly huge changes in blood pressure, becomes desensitized to correcting changes in blood pressure caused by other factors. So, a normal fit person may be more suited to the astronaut environment than a super fit person. As the number of astronauts increase, agencies like NASA are giving more priority to research like Simon's. But although normal people may be fit enough to be astronauts, it's unlikely that many would have the stomach for it. Next, the American invention that could get rid of blood-sucking pests.
Now you can share live video from your home or office. Introducing the revolutionary iVista webcasting software from iNetCam. Friends and family can see and hear you live from anywhere. Check in live from the road, send live video and audio emails, or turn your computer into a live security system with motion detection and notification. iVista's optimized for the Intel Pentium 4 processor. For more information, visit iNetCam.com.
Hey, Tip, wouldn't it be cool to win an Olympic medal?
Oh, very cool.
I mean, it's great Gateway's providing the computers and servers to the Olympic Winter Games, but to compete in the games and win, that'd be amazing.
That'd be great.
Man, I wish I had an Olympic medal.
Well, you could always put on this cowbell and pretend.
Don't patronize me, Teddy.
Growing up back, the average American household was carrying almost $8,000 in credit card debt, just making minimum payments. It would have taken most families 47 years to pay that debt off. Then, the unthinkable happened. Now these families are swimming in a sea of red ink. That's where Profina comes in. Profina is one of America's largest, most experienced credit counseling services. And Profina is nonprofit. Just get your bills together and call one of their financial experts. They'll help you build a new budget, and then they'll work with your creditors to lower your payments. You can save hundreds of dollars a month, and without putting your home at risk. And during this time of crisis, Profina is redoubling efforts to help American families. It's not a loan. It's not a handout. It's a way to work yourself back where you belong. Because we have better things to do with our red ink. Profina, rebuilding America's economy, one family at a time.
Coming up on the next edition of Tomorrow's World, the bionic woman and the bicycle.
I developed this bicycle myself for paraplegics because there was nothing else available.
Plus, the microchip that could stop mistakes at the races.
My first reaction was, I just don't believe this. Perhaps we picked up the wrong horses at the sales.
And worshipping at the Japanese robotic temple of the future.
Historically, Buddhist priests have been at the forefront of technology.
Also, giving dogs the chance of a new life with a new kind of blood.
Well, if I would have given her a blood transfusion, and sometimes that's hard to do and hard to get. So the Octagovan is actually pretty convenient.
And how scientists are growing new parts for the human body. It's all coming up on the next edition of Tomorrow's World on TechTV. Sandflies are a pest all over the world. In some countries, their bites carry disease, but in the US, their bites aren't dangerous. They're just really irritating. A playground full of children is a feast for the blood-sucking insects. Children here at St. Mark's School in Florida used to hate coming outside at lunchtime, mainly because they ended up on the menu. Sandflies from the marsh next door would flock to the playground and feast on the children as they played.
It was really bad, and it was mostly bad in the morning because we'd always be itching in the morning.
Like when you'd be writing, you'd be itching instead of writing. All the bugs would be out, and then you'd get bitten and it'd sting for a couple of seconds.
Now scientists have come up with a cunning plan. This may look like a garbage can, but in fact it's a new type of trap that tricks the sandflies into thinking that it's dinner time. Sandflies track down their prey, including humans, using the carbon dioxide that we breathe out. But now it's the new traps that top the sandflies menu. Dr. Jonathan Day is the scientist who's come up with the recipe that sandflies just can't resist. Carbon dioxide is pumped through a buried pipe, which covers the entire length of the traps. The gas comes up through the center of the trap that's covered in material treated with mineral oil. The sandflies sense the carbon dioxide and they're attracted by the smell. Once they've followed the trail into the trap, they hit the fabric screen and get caught in the oil. And the system had some unexpected benefits. Without the daily attacks and resulting itches, the children are concentrating better in class. A teacher explains.
They're more ready to start working. They're kids, they still talk and fool around, but they're not aggravated. They're not itching. They're not asking to go to the office to get medication to put on the bites and stuff like that, and they're a lot calmer.
So the scientists are happy, the teachers are happy, but what about the kids?
You can actually play and not worry about the itching.
Yeah, you could study more and you could do your homework. And you're not thinking of getting bitten.
That's all for this edition of Tomorrow's World. Join us next time for another look into the future.